Welcome to Money Smart for Adults, Module 5, Your Savings. We're going to go through this instructor guide and highlight how you can facilitate this training. As in other modules, it starts out here with the contents page, giving you all the information relating to this module listed by section and page number so that you know exactly where to find things here. Background information for instructors, as with other modules, is exactly the same. Starts out with a reference to the tools you'll be using to deliver the training, including the guide to presenting Money Smart for Adults. The training preparation checklist is to make sure that you have everything that's going to equip you to have a successful training. Materials that you may need, as in other modules. This is a checklist of all the things that you're going to need to deliver the training, including the instructor guide, participant guide, and PowerPoint slides. Regarding the participant guide, if it's a challenge for you to give copies to everyone in your training, please refer them to the online version or some other solutions that may be appropriate. Optional materials such as a parking lot for questions and supplies for any optional introductory activity that you may be doing should be on hand. Understanding the icons section is the same for all the other modules in the Money Smart for Adults training. You can reference them here as a refresher if you need to. The module purpose is to cover how participants can save money for their goals, large purchases, and unexpected expenses. It does not cover investments. This module also reviews options for where to build your savings, discusses options for individuals receiving public benefits to build assets. The module at a glance table here, you'll see that we estimate you're going to need 2 hours and 45 minutes to cover the entire module, not including breaks or any optional introductory activities. Notice here that you'll see that the module at a glance table lists the sections, key takeaways, the purpose, objectives, and the time estimates all laid out here for you. Here's the module opening. As in every module in the Money Smart for Adults training, you're going to complete a few tasks such as welcoming participants as they arrive, introducing yourself, asking them to sign in, ensure any requested reasonable accommodations are in place, and make any necessary adjustments. And once you're ready to begin the training, ask participants to complete the pre-training survey. Parking lot and participant guide. You're going to establish a flip chart poster for the parking lot and inform your participants that it's for questions, concerns, ideas, and resources that you'll address during breaks or at the end of the training. Mention that the participant guide is theirs to use during and after the session. Encourage them to take notes and to write in them. And if time permits, start your training with an optional introductory activity. I highly recommend that you do this as it's a great way to get participants energized and ready to learn. You'll find suggestions for fun activities in the guide to presenting Money Smart for Adults, or you can use your own. Section 1, what is savings? Participants will be able to explain what savings is and why saving money is important, and list ways to find money to save. Let's pause for a moment to point out some helpful navigation features of the instructor guide. There's helpful information in the headers and footer that will help you stay oriented. In the header, the right-hand side reminds you that you're looking at the instructor guide. This is helpful if you happen to also consult a copy of the participant guide during your training. The left-hand side of the header identifies the section you are in. The footer of the document identifies the module along with the page number. And these modules can seem like they all look alike, but you can always know where you are by looking at the headers and footers. You'll notice that there are facilitation instructions, say, ask, do, show slide. These are prompts to guide you through the flow of the training through the section topics. So now you're going to introduce the section and key takeaway. Showing slide number 3, you're going to ask a question, what is saving? You're going to basically have a discussion around why saving money is important and ways to find money. And then at the end of the section, You'll tell participants that they'll be energized about saving money. And then showing slide number 4 is the key takeaway. Set aside some money every time you get income. Regularly saving money, even if it only a small amount, can make a big difference over time. The first topic in this section is defining savings. And so you're posing that question again around saving, but this time you're asking, what does savings mean? Your participants are going to be able to write their answer in their participant guide on page 3. Then you're going to ask them the next question, which is on the next slide. Is spending less money the same as saving money? That is a great question, and you'll want your participants to write their answer to that in the space provided and have a discussion around that. That is really something to consider. There's an example given about if they buy a coat marked down from $60 to $40, it may seem like they saved $20, but they're not building savings unless they put the $20 they did not spend into their savings fund. And so that's the point you're driving with these slides here, these first introductory slides around this topic about what does saving mean, and then is spending less money the same as saving money. Great way to start your session around these thought-provoking questions. Then you're going to continue on about why save money. Now, this is an activity. This is a voting activity. And there are 7 reasons listed, and you'll see them here on the bottom of page 14. And they're also listed on slide number 7. And you're going to show that slide as you're having this discussion introducing this activity. And you'll want your participants to think about, well, why should they save money? Why save money in their own way? And they get to choose from the 7 options here of what really resonates with them around why they save money. And they'll actually get up and to go around the room to stand next to the actual reason that resonates most with them. And that's their way of voting. Now, if someone or more people select the other as the reason, then tell them to be prepared to share what they mean by other. Note that there are other ways to have participants vote other than standing and moving around the room. Standing and moving may not work for everyone in your group because of the training space, because of mobility impairments that your participants may have, or because of other reasons. You can do this activity in a way that allows participants to remain at their tables. They can vote by raising their hands or indicating their preference in another way. There are 4 questions at the bottom of page 15 in your instructor guide that you can ask to really get the conversation going. For example, the first one, why was this reason most important to you? Was it hard to choose among the reasons listed? What are the other reasons did you consider, and how does this reason motivate you to save money? And so that's going to be a really, really fun exercise. Again, getting them very active in this thought process around money and saving and really how it relates to their spending. And so this is really good, and I highly recommend that you facilitate this with a bit of energy. So that's going to lead you into what's next here, which is the try it activity. This scenario is about Tamara finds money to save. And so you're going to read it out loud, or you can ask for a volunteer to do so, but get them in small groups and give them about 5 minutes to discuss the questions that are posed there for this activity. The question is, where do you think Tamara should start, and how can she find money to save? And then you're going to say the information that's listed here on the bottom of page 16. There's some bullet points there to have you just say to the participants as you go through this particular discussion. Now, this is really going to segue into the apply it activity, which is shown on slide 9. And this is really a checklist. This is a checklist to my quick tips for finding money to save. And what you want participants to do is to get into groups and to look at the list. Now, the list is 3 pages long. So if you look or have them look in the participant guide, you'll notice that it goes from page 5, 6, and finishes up on page 7 in the participant guide. So there's quite a bit here for the checklist, but it's really a good thing for them to see all the different ideas here. And what you want them to do is to think about ones that are new to them and think about ones that they want to try. There is a space on page 7 that they can write in to identify which one of these ideas that they're going to actually try out. And so they have an opportunity to write that down on page 7 in the space. And you can see it here also on the instructor guide, page 19. You'll see that space. That just represents the space that they see in their participant guide. And that's how you're going to wrap up this section. Lots of activity, lots of engagement right away here. And then showing slide number 10, remembering the key takeaway to set aside some money every time you get income. Regularly saving money, even if only a small amount, can make a big difference over time. Section 2, where to build your savings. The objectives here is that participants will be able to list advantages and disadvantages of places to put savings, explain the benefits of saving money in a federally insured savings account, and to estimate how long it would take to double money using the rule of 72. You're introducing the section and the key takeaway, slide 11. You're going to say, we will discuss options for where you can build your savings, and state the key takeaways, showing slide number 12. Consider the advantages and disadvantages of saving options before choosing where to build your savings. Our first topic for this section is where to put your savings. Now, this is really about helping your participants understand that there are different options, but there are advantages and disadvantages. So showing slide number 14, you're going to give them these particular topics. There are 5 topics around this discussion, and you're going to assign the group to these 5 topics. If you have more than 5 groups, assign the same topic to more than one group. And you're going to give them a piece of flip chart paper. And they're going to put the title of their topic at the top, make a T. On the left side of the T, put advantages, and the right side, put disadvantages. And you want them to really come up with what they determine to be advantages or disadvantages for that particular topic. And so I want to make a note here around the Rotating Savings and Credit Association. That is a group of people who get together regularly to contribute money into a savings fund, and each member gets the money in the savings fund on a scheduled basis. Now, these groups go by different names around the world, so they may not be called what we're showing here in the instructor guide, but just know that it's all the same. They also may have other features as well, and these programs all are based on trust among group members, so they tend to set their own rules around how it's going to work. So just wanted to make a note here that this is a particular option, and we are certainly adding it to the discussion here on this section. So these 5 things, you're getting them into groups and you're allowing them to talk about the advantages and disadvantages. And so on the next several pages in your instructor guide, it goes through each of these topics and giving a list of advantages and disadvantages that you can add to the discussion if not already contributed by the group when they are giving their report out on what they came up with in their brainstorm. And so this is really a great way to get people to understand that every option may not fit everybody and that they have a choice in which they can determine the best place where they can put their savings. And as you continue through here on slide 20, you're showing other places for savings. And in your instructor guide, there is a list of bullet points to say in regards to the different options of money market deposit account, certificate of deposit, U.S. savings bonds, retirement accounts, and individual retirement accounts. And so you'll give the explanation of each of these as you are helping raise the awareness of your participants to understand these different options. And then you're going to move into the activity, apply it, my savings options. Showing slide number 21, there are 6 questions here that is going to allow your participants to really think about what they're currently doing. And you'll see the questions here on page 29 in your instructor guide. And it's just really about having them to really zero in on what's going on with their own savings patterns. And that's what these questions are asking and getting them to get their awareness around this topic. After that is done, after they finish that activity, you're going to talk about deposit insurance. Showing slide number 22, you are introducing the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the National Credit Union Administration, which the FDIC insures federally insured banks, and the NCUA insures federally insured credit unions. And each of them have their respective websites listed. Make sure to mention that to participants so that they can go there and get more information about that. Our next topic, interest and compounding. Showing slide number 23, this is really about those accounts that do earn interest. Now, not all accounts earn interest, and so make mention of that so that participants don't think that just because they open up an account that is automatically going to earn interest. It has to be an interest-bearing account, so make sure that you mention that. But really, it's about helping them to understand how interest works, and so you're saying, as listed here on page 30 in your instructor guide, gives you some of the bullet points there to say, then there's going to be a comparison. You're going to show slide number 24, and we're going to compare mattress versus a bank account. And this is a really fun thing to look at because it's looking at $1,000 over 5 and 10 years and what it gains over the course of that time versus that same $1,000 from 5 to 10 years in a bank account that actually has a 2% interest compounding monthly. And so now, depending upon current interest rates, and you can check with your local banks and credit unions, but you may wish to mention what the bank account would earn assuming a different interest rate. Now, there's an example here in your instructor guide of 1%, 4%, and 6%. Whichever one of those is appropriate for you to mention, please do so. Or if the rates are completely different than what you're seeing here, then please use those rates that are currently being offered where you are. There is another point to say here on page 31. It's really about that it's not just the interest and compounding that matter. It's also about the money that's being contributed to the account also. And so you want participants to understand how that works. And so showing slide number 25, now we have an example with a $5 contribution being saved every month. And so the comparison here, same thing with under the mattress, and then we have the bank account. And as you can see here on your instructor guide, you have examples from year 1, 5, 10, and year 30. And it's really interesting to show how the money's accumulating under the mattress just based on the contributions, but then the bank account showing the accumulation plus the 2% interest compounding monthly. And again, same thing. If it makes more sense to use different interest rate examples based on current interest rates at the time being offered by banks and credit unions, then please do so that your participants get an idea of what this would look like if they started this now. So now that leads to the topic annual percentage yield, which reflects the amount of interest participants will earn on a yearly basis. It's expressed as a percentage. Now, the annual percentage yield, or the APY, it's not the same as the interest rate, even though banks or credit unions may advertise the APY, that doesn't mean that that's the interest that's going to be earned on the account. So make sure that you point that out to your participants, and also mention that it includes the effect of compounding. And so the compounding simply means that it's the interest is actually earning interest as well. And the more often that money compounds, the higher the APY and the more interest participants will earn. So that now leads us to the rule of 72. You're showing slide number 27. And this is really about how long it would take to double the money. So you divide the number 72 by the interest rate earned on the money expressed as a whole number, and the result is an estimate of the number of years it will take to double your money. And so this is a very popular calculation, and it's very fun to actually look at this and to see how this is really impacting a person's ability to think about their saving. Because if they know that their money can double after a certain amount of time, that could be a very, very good motivator. Now, there are two examples of how you can use the rule of 72 as shown on slide number 28. And in your instructor guide, it gives you the things to say around example number one. If you have $50 in a savings account with an interest rate of 2%, it's going to take about 36 years to double your money to $100 because you're dividing 72 by 2 and equals 36. So that's the first example, and you're showing that one. Now, the next example, example number 2, is what if the question is now, well, what interest rate would double your money in 10 years? So the formula now is expressed a little bit differently, but we have a similar result. We take the 72 and divide it by 10. So now we're dividing it by the number of years to get what interest rate is going to be required in order for it to double. And so these two examples are really fun ways to look at the possibility of savings and the accumulation over time based on the rule of 72. And if someone tells you you can double your money in 1 year, you mention to participants that they may want to ask a few questions because this means the money would earn 72%. So earning that much interest is probably not realistic. And you're wrapping up with the section closing, again, as usual, remembering the key takeaway. Consider the advantages and disadvantages of saving options before choosing where to build your savings. Section 3, Saving for Unexpected Expenses. During this section, your objectives are that participants will be able to explain why saving money for unexpected expenses is important and to list potential changes to income and expenses and how those relate to savings goals. You'll begin by introducing the section and the key takeaway. Slide 30, you'll introduce by stating that this is going to help them to plan for an emergency savings fund and setting aside income for times when your income or expenses vary. And slide 31, the key takeaway, an emergency savings fund is part of the foundation of financial health. Setting aside $500 to $1,000 can cover many unexpected expenses. The topic begins, why save for unexpected expenses? Showing slide number 32, you're actually starting a discussion around things that happen unexpectedly. Life happens, unexpected events happen, and people can find themselves desperate for money. So an emergency savings fund can help, and this is really segueing into the topic that is going to be around emergency savings. So we have, first of all, the triad activity with unexpected expenses. Slide 33 is referencing the information in the participant guide, which is on page 14, and it gives the participants an opportunity to think about and to list some of the unexpected events in their lives that require money. And so give them an opportunity to do that, and then invite a few participants to share what they wrote. Emergency Savings Fund goal, slide number 34, starts with the discussion around how they can begin to think about setting aside money for unexpected expenses. It also mentions here in the instructor guide about stating that they may have heard about the emergency fund savings should be 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. That's a really big goal, and it may seem impossible to reach. So even building a smaller emergency savings fund can be helpful. So tell participants that they can actually make a big difference by just saving $500 to $1,000 in an emergency fund account. Share with participants that as they need to use their emergency savings, they'll have to build it up again through savings. It's a cycle. It's still worth doing. Having an emergency savings fund is one of the most important steps people can take to improve their financial health and stability. Moving into the applied activity, now they have an opportunity to actually write down on the worksheet how they can think about their emergency savings fund plan. That's on page 15 in the participant guide, and you're showing slide 35 on the PowerPoint. Give them some time to actually do this, and there are some really good things here in terms of the question says, I will use these strategies to save money regularly toward this goal. Then I will save my money here. So it gives them an opportunity to write out their plan for an emergency savings fund. The next topic is anticipating changes to income and expenses. Now this slide number 36, is bullet points around these topics, but you're going to actually ask 3 questions of participants to help them to really think it through. You're going to ask them about what are examples of changes to income. Ask them, they have bills that arrive only once or a few times per year. What are some examples? And then asking them, what are some examples of when your expenses increase temporarily? Those are 3 specific prompts that's really going to help participants to move into the next activity, which is to estimate savings for changes in my income and expenses. This is on slide 37 and page 17 in the participant guide. And this is really going to require them to do a bit of thinking about these particular areas. There's a page for increases in income to let them list those items, time frames, and the estimated amount of money. Then there's decreases in income. Same thing, list the item, time frames, and estimated amount of money. And then finally, periodic and special expenses, doing the same thing, listing the item, time frames, and estimated amount of money. And that's how we will wrap up this section in terms of giving them an opportunity to see what those are, think about that, and to get them written down on those worksheets. Now, because of the length of time that it may take for them to complete this, you may want to suggest that they do this after training to give them the opportunity to spend the time required to actually fill out all 3 worksheets. And then moving to our section closing, remind participants of the key takeaway for this section. An emergency savings fund is part of the foundation of financial health. Setting aside $500 to $1,000 can cover many unexpected expenses. Section 4, Savings for Your Goals. The objectives in this section is to help participants to be able to set savings goals using the SMART framework. Calculate how much money to save periodically based on the total savings goal and the time available for saving, and list potential changes to income and expenses. You'll introduce the section on slide 39 and the key takeaway on slide 40. Create a plan to save money for your goals. The first topic in this section is your hopes and dreams. This is an opportunity to allow participants to draw actually what they believe their hopes and dreams are, or what they want in life for themselves, and about what they want for their families. Showing slide number 41, you'll set this up and then give them an opportunity to turn to page 21 in their participant guide and to actually draw in this space provided. Right underneath the key takeaway section on that page, there's a box that they can actually draw the picture. And depending upon who feels comfortable in the room, I'll ask them to share their drawing with the rest of the participants. And again, just make sure they feel comfortable with what they've drawn out, and that they feel comfortable sharing that with the other participants. Moving forward from there, you want to go into slide number 42, which is now talking about SMART goals. This is the acronym SMART which spells SMART: specific, measurable, action-oriented, reachable, and time-bound. And so you're going to explain what each of those means, and you're going to use the example provided in your instructor guide of a goal that follows the SMART goal format. I will save $10 each month for 6 months by getting cash at my bank's ATM rather than the ATM that charges fees, so that I have $60 for holiday gifts by November 1st. So that has all of the SMART elements to it. So walk the participants through that, showing them exactly how that is. Now, slide number 43. Now we're asking them to consider writing down or posting the goals, sharing them, and maybe only focusing on one or few goals at the same time. So this is going to help them to increase the chance to achieve their goals. In other words, what are things that they can do to make it more likely to achieve their goals? So that also moves us into slide number 44. How much money should you save for your goals? So this is about understanding that the SMART goals is a very powerful way to write things down in terms of what they want and when they want to achieve it by. But in this training, we're not going to spend more time on writing SMART goals, but rather now turn to the financial aspect of the goals. And so you'll notice the say prompts here on page 45 in your instructor guide to give you some examples of how you can explain how this works using the example of the goal of saving $1,000 in 2 years. So go through that with participants, because this is really going to set them up for the next activity, which is the apply it on slide number 45. And it is the activity saving money for my goals. And this actually allows them to use the tables listed here to calculate how much money they should save every day, every week, every month, or year to reach their goals. And it's also broken down in terms of short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. And as you see here on the slide, looking at the instructor guide, it shows here that you have $32 that is the goal to be able to reach to pay for the co-payment and the prescriptions. So this needs to happen within 4 weeks. And so if you divide $32 by 4 weeks, you have $8. So they need to save $8 each week for the next 4 weeks. So you'll have participants write in their own short-term goal, and then there's a medium-term goal that they can do the same for, and also a long-term goal. The next section gets into large expenses, showing slide 46, and saying that large expenses are items that generally require more money than you have left over after 1 or 2 paychecks. And then you're going to follow the prompts, the ask and the do prompts here to really have a discussion about large expenses, which leads into our next apply activity, my large expenses. And in my large expenses, this is an example of a new refrigerator. As you can see that they need the money in 25 weeks. So $400 divided by 25 weeks equals $16 per week. And then notice here in the worksheet, it says other ways to get the item, and then participants can actually write down other ways that they think of that they can actually accomplish the goal. And so this is just to help them to identify how to actually prepare for saving for large expenses. And then section closing, showing slide number 48, remembering the key takeaway, create a plan to save money for your goal. Section 5, saving and public benefits. During this section, participants will be able to list some public benefit programs that determine eligibility for benefits based on a person's income and other resources, and explain how special accounts enable some people to save more money for specific goals without losing eligibility for means-tested public benefits. So you'll start out on slide number 49, given the overview and introduction to the section, and the key takeaway on slide 50. Some public benefits may be reduced or removed when you exceed income or asset limits. However, some special accounts enable people to save more money without losing eligibility for their benefits. First topic in this section is assets and income limits. So you're going to say that some public benefit programs determine eligibility for benefits based on a person's income or other resources. This is commonly referred to as means testing or a means tested benefit. So showing slide number 51, you're going to also ask them to turn to page 26 in their participant guide to look at some limits to saving money for some public benefits programs. So follow the do prompts in the instructor guide to have the discussion around reviewing each of the public benefits and the information provided in the table. Then there is special accounts and public benefits. This is on page 27 in the participant guide, and you want to follow the prompts in regards to what to say in regards to these different accounts. Now, I want you to know that from slide number 52 all the way through slide number 62, you are giving information on the ABLE accounts and some of the other accounts. Please note that on the ABLE accounts, the information here is not comprehensive. If participants want to learn more about them, you may want to contact the ABLE National Resource Center and ask if they could recommend a guest speaker. And so as you go through these special accounts, you'll be given information on the ABLE accounts, special needs trusts, pools, special needs trust, plan to achieve self-support, which is PASS accounts, and match savings accounts. That's the information that you're going to be sharing with them based on the outline there in the instructor guide and giving them the descriptions and the elements of each of those accounts. Remind participants of the key takeaway for this section. Some public benefits may be reduced or removed when you exceed income or asset limits. However, some special accounts enable people to save more money without losing eligibility for their benefits. So as we move towards the module closing, you'll want to restate and remember the key takeaways from the entire module. This module had 5 sections, 5 key takeaways. We want to also help participants to take action. Every module has the same take action activity. It's important not to skip it, even if you can only spare a few moments. The participants will remember what you just presented a lot easier if they can write down a few action steps. Knowledge isn't enough, action is required. And then once you're ready, you can administer the post-training survey showing slide number 65 and giving them an opportunity to complete that. The answer key for both the pre and post-training surveys listed here on page 61 in the instructor guide. You can also see where Module 5 fits into the overall curriculum of the Money Smarts for Adults modules. And that's it. That is our overview of the Money Smart for Adults Module 5, Your Savings.